After 21 years, World of Warcraft has finally added one of the most requested features in the game's entire existence, player housing. Technically, housing as a complete feature is launching with the Midnight expansion on March 2nd, but for anyone who has pre-ordered any version of Midnight, housing is now available in early access as of December 2nd, or 3rd if you're on a European server. For starters, let's be clear about how big of a deal housing actually is. This isn't limited to the Midnight expansion, it's a whole new pillar of gameplay. It's as big of a deal as transmog being added to the game, maybe even bigger. It brings with it an entire backlog of content relating to past expansions with hundreds of decorations to collect from old quests, raids, and achievements. This will continue to be updated in the future as well, and I fully expect to see a whole new kind of WoW player emerge from this content. Housing experts will spend endless hours collecting and decorating their homes to perfection. But if housing doesn't really sound like your thing, don't worry. It was designed for players to engage with as much or as little as they choose. Housing will not affect player power when it comes to other aspects of the game, such as Mythic Plus, raiding, PvP, etc., which is why I think comparing it to transmog is such an accurate description. Anyway, in this video, I just wanted to take a few minutes to go over some of the basic things you're going to want to know when you're going into the housing system for the very first time. Like, how do I get started? Where will my house be located? Can I join a neighborhood with my friends, and can we visit each other's houses? How much can I really customize my house, and will I need to spend hours grinding for furniture just to get started? These were all questions I had going into the beta, and rest assured I've found the answers. First of all, getting started is super simple. Upon logging in for the first time once housing goes live, you'll automatically receive an introductory questline that will guide you to the town square in your first neighborhood. There you'll talk to the housing steward who will prompt you to pick and purchase your first housing plot. To start with, the cost of your first plot should be free since it's part of the housing introduction, and don't worry, if you don't love the plot you chose, you can pack up and move to another plot whenever you want. You can purchase up to 2 housing plots during early access, one in the Alliance housing area called Founders Point, and another in the Horde area, Razorwind Shores. I know there are supposed to be 2 more housing zones, a Night Elf one and a Blood Elf one, that'll be coming in March when Midnight launches, and those are 2 of my favorite WoW aesthetics, so I'm really excited for both of those. Oh, and just to be clear, the faction restriction is only there when you're purchasing the housing plot. All of your characters, regardless of faction, can visit all of your houses. Same thing goes for your friends and guildmates. Speaking of friends and guildmates, let's take a look at how neighborhoods are going to work, since joining a neighborhood with your friends will be the best way of participating in housing with them as a community. Neighborhoods are instance copies of the housing zones, and these will be divided into 2 different social categories. Public neighborhoods will be available for anyone to join, or if you have a group of friends or guildmates, private neighborhoods can be established as well. You can use the House Finder tool to see all the public neighborhoods available to you, or search for your BattleNet friends to see what neighborhood they're in and to see if there are any open plots for you to join them there. Private neighborhoods can be established by speaking to the neighborhood steward and getting 10 signatures on a neighborhood charter, similar to establishing a guild. If your guild is establishing their own private neighborhood, the guildmaster will have to get the charter and set it up. A minimum of 10 people are needed to keep a private neighborhood going, so keep that in mind as well. And now you might be wondering, what if I'm in a really big guild with more than 50 people? Will only 50 people get to live in the guild's neighborhood? Well, I had the same question, and while I haven't tested it out for myself, it's my understanding that guild neighborhoods that fill up can have additional instances of the neighborhood owned by the same guild. I'm not sure how that will look in practice, but I'm glad they took that situation into consideration when designing the neighborhood system. Once you find your neighborhood and pick your plot, you'll eventually be able to participate in the neighborhood's group activity system called Endeavors. Endeavors are month-long, task-based events that residents can do to earn different thematic decorations, unlock special NPCs and vendors based on that Endeavors theme. If you're familiar with the monthly Traveler's Log and the Trading Post, it looks to me like Endeavors are based on that system, so it should be very similar. There's also a sort of reputation or renown system in place for your neighborhood. This is going to be called Neighborhood Favor, which will play a big part in leveling up your house and earning additional rewards. At the time of this video, it's my understanding that the Endeavor system will not be coming with the early access. It looks like they're still tweaking things with it on the beta, so since some changes could happen between now and the launch of Midnight, we can take a more in-depth look at Endeavors another time. Now that we've got that stuff out of the way, let's take a closer look at the housing dashboard. This will be where you can track your housing progress and your endeavors, once that system is implemented on the live servers, that is. Since this is more of a basic overview kind of video, there are two quick things I want you to get familiar with in this dashboard. The first is the housing teleport button. You can click here to teleport to the current housing plot selected in this dropdown. Once you teleport to your house using this button, you can open the menu and click on it again to return to wherever you were when you first used it. This is a pretty neat feature if you ask me. Also, keep in mind this will be the primary means of accessing your house in the opposing faction neighborhood, since trying to access the other faction's housing area via their portal room is not really an option. The other thing you'll want to get familiar with in the dashboard is the decor catalog. Here you can search for and see every piece of decor, how or where to get it, and if it comes from a vendor, what currency is needed and how much it costs. This will come in handy if you're going for a particular theme in your house and want to go after specific items, or just browse through it for fun and see if you find anything you really want to get. Okay, so now that we've covered choosing a neighborhood and picking a plot, and we've familiarized ourselves with the housing dashboard, it's time to get decorating. If this is your first time using any kind of housing tools like this, I'd recommend letting the game take you through the tutorial. If you've done housing in other MMOs or in a game like The Sims, you'll probably already have a basic grasp of how all of this works. I've done a bit of house decorating in the Elder Scrolls Online, and their toolkit is very similar to how this works in WoW, but I do have to say WoW's editing tools are absolutely fantastic. Being able to resize decor, change the appearance of the walls, ceiling, and floors, and being able to dye things from a ton of different color options really lets you customize every little detail in your house, and it's just awesome. You can change the outside appearance of your house by pressing this button when you're outside your home, or if you press the same button while inside the home, you can customize the rooms and internal layout of your home. Even though the house will look pretty small on the outside, you can still customize the floor plan and make it much larger inside. But bigger isn't always better. Remember, you'll have to decorate all those rooms if you don't want people to think you're living in an empty warehouse. Now that we're decorating, I should probably talk a little bit more about decor and how you'll get it. Well, the good news is there's plenty available to get you started with. If you've been playing WoW for any amount of time, you've probably acquired a good stockpile of decor from past achievements. So once you get your first house, I would take a look at everything you have available. If there's not a lot there, you might want to try logging into each of your alts so the system can recognize your achievements and make all the housing items you've earned from your past gameplay available. I'm not sure if that'll be necessary to do on the live servers, but it was on the beta, so I figured I'd recommend it here in this video. If you still need some additional items or want to just expand your options even more, there are tons of housing vendors that sell basic decor for relatively low amounts of gold. Remember that town square we went to before we picked our plot? Well, if you head back over there, you'll find a good number of housing vendors selling everything you need to decorate your first house. Remember, housing items are now going to be a part of the reward structure for other content you do, so I'm sure you'll end up passively acquiring a bunch of decor as you go about completing other content, and you can always use the catalog to seek out other decor related to past content as well. Like I said at the beginning of this video, housing is a big deal, and even if you don't plan on making it a big part of your regular activity, this will always be some fun side content to catch up on when there's a lull in between patches or towards the end of a season. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to cover in this video. I know it was more of a crash course than an in-depth guide, but that's intentional. I think the best thing about a new system like this being introduced to the game is that everyone gets to just play around with it, there's no optimized meta to follow, you can just have fun figuring it out as you go. And that's all I've got for this one. If you enjoyed the video or found anything I said helpful, give this video a like and leave a comment to let me know what you're liking or disliking about the housing system so far. Subscribe for more content, and until next time, I'll be decorating my house.